Japan is a country that looks familiar from the outside. Neon cities, ancient temples, sushi, anime. But the real Japan is far stranger, deeper, and more surprising than the postcard version. Most travelers never hear this. There was a rural train station in Hokkaido that stayed open for years, just so a single high school girl could get to class. When she graduated, they finally closed it. There's a festival where sumo wrestlers compete to make babies cry because loud tears are believed to chase away evil spirits. And there's a hotel chain where dinosaur robots check you in. And one tourist was so shocked by the talking machines that her reaction went viral online. Japan isn't just another destination. It's a place where tiny details carry huge meaning, where rules are rarely explained but always felt, and where everyday life can feel like a mix between a ritual and a science fiction movie. Let's dive into that Japan, the one hidden under the surface. Let's start with culture, because here, culture isn't just traditions, it's the operating system. In Japan, every social situation has a right way. But that right way changes depending on who you be talking to, how old they are, where you're standing, and even what time of day it is. The language itself reflects this. There isn't just formal and informal. There are multiple levels of politeness: casual speech with friends, polite speech for strangers and co-workers, and highly honorific speech for bosses, elders, or customers. One verb, like to do or to go, can transform into completely different words when you're speaking politely. If you're from the US, imagine having 3 different versions of English you switch between depending on who walks into the room, and people silently judging whether you chose the right one. Then there's the way Japanese people say sorry. Words like sumimasen and gosonji se gomenasai wasadonati just mean I am sorry. Depending on context, sumimasen can mean excuse me, sorry, or even thank you, as in I'm sorry you went to the trouble, I appreciate it. So you will see people say sumimasen even when someone else did something kind for them. It sounds like an apology, but it carries gratitude at the same time. All of this feeds into one of the most important invisible skills in Japan, what people call kuki wo yomu, reading the air. Kuki is the atmosphere between people, the emotional temperature of a moment. You're expected to sense when someone is uncomfortable without them saying a word. You're expected to notice when a conversation has gone on too long. You're expected to know when to step in and when to disappear. If you can't read the air, people may quietly label you as someone who doesn't get it. No one tells you. You just feel doors closing that you didn't even know were there. You really start to feel this when you step into Japanese public spaces. American travelers often talk about the first time they ride a train in Japan. They expect crowd noise, chatter, maybe music leaking from headphones. Instead, they get silence. Even during rush hour, hundreds of people are standing shoulder to shoulder, and yet it's quieter than many libraries back home. People scroll on their phones, read books, or just stare out the window. Conversations are low, quick, and rare. It is not illegal to talk. It is just that everyone has quietly agreed not to disturb the air around them. That same obsession with harmony shows up in Japan's traditions. Some beautiful, some intense, all meaningful. One of the strangest to Western eyes is the Crying Baby Festival, known as Naki Sumo. At this event, sumo wrestlers hold babies in their arms and try to make them cry. Sometimes with funny faces, sometimes with loud shouts, sometimes with masks. The first baby to cry is the winner. It sounds harsh, but the logic is ancient. A loud, strong cry means a healthy child, and those tears are believed to scare away evil spirits and bless the baby's future. Japan's way of connecting suffering, strength, and blessing can feel very different from American ideas of comfort. Here, a little bit of fear or discomfort, a baby's tears, a cold ritual, a walk through fire, can be seen as an investment in a safer life. The same mix of intensity and discipline shows up in daily behavior, especially in how people handle responsibility. There used to be a tradition called yubitsume, where a person might cut off part of their finger as a gesture of extreme apology or loyalty. It's almost never seen in modern life, but the idea behind it still echoes. A serious mistake should hurt you more than anyone else. These days, that spirit is channeled into something much less bloody, but still intense: perfectionism. You can see it in one of the most ordinary places: the train system. A Japanese rail company once made international news because a train left the station 20 seconds early, and the company issued a formal public apology. Now, let's talk about food, clothing, and daily life, because this is where Japan really surprises people who think it just sushi and kimonos. Food in Japan isn't just about taste, it's about specialization. There are tiny restaurants that serve only one type of dish, and have been doing it for decades. A place that only does grilled eel. A shop famous only for its egg omelette, another known for one kind of noodle soup. The idea is simple: do one thing over and over until it's perfect. For a US traveler used to giant menus, it can feel strange to walk in and realize, this is it, one choice. But that narrow focus is part of why the food hits so hard. Daily life is full of small systems like that, quiet, structured, and surprisingly human. Take cafes. In Tokyo, there are silent cafes where talking is not allowed, created purely so people can read and think. Then there's the manuscript writing cafe in Koenji, a place for writers on deadline. When you arrive, you write down your goal and choose how strictly the staff should monitor you, and you're not supposed to leave until you've finished. Clothing carries that same quiet weight. A kimono isn't just a pretty outfit. The pattern, color, and fabric can signal age, marital status, and formality. Most people wear Western clothes daily, but when the kimono comes out, it's treated as something almost sacred. Where do tourists fit in? For many Americans, Japan is the safest place they've ever felt, and also one of the most confusing. One of the first shocks is what happens when they lose something. Travelers tell stories of dropping wallets or leaving bags on trains, and later finding them turned in, neatly recorded, sometimes with all the cash still inside. In Tokyo, billions of yen in lost cash are handed in every year, and a large share makes its way back to the owners. But tourists also collide with invisible rules. Some foreigners say people avoid sitting next to them on trains. Some interpret it as racism, others as fear of speaking English. At the same time, strangers step in quickly if someone is in trouble, especially on trains. Japan rarely explains its rules, but they're everywhere. You stand on one side of the escalator. You line up in rows on train platforms. You don't talk loudly on public transport. Even paying at a store follows a ritual, placing money on a tray instead of handing it directly. Japan's streets are famously clean, yet public trash cans are rare. People carry their trash until they find a place to throw it away. Over time, it became a social norm. You are responsible for whatever you bring into the world. Japan's unwritten rules often boil down to this: don't make your problem someone else's problem. Now let's jump into unusual stories that show how far Japan goes in the name of order, care, and imagination. In Hokkaido, there was a tiny station that served exactly one passenger, a high school girl. Trains stopped twice a day for her, and the station closed after she graduated. It became a symbol of how systems can bend for a human being. Japan's relationship with technology adds its own flavor. The Hen-Na hotel chain became famous as the world's first hotel staffed by robots, including dinosaur robots at the front desk. But over time, they scaled back because robots misunderstood guests and created more work. A futuristic experiment politely adjusted. Japan also creates unique emotional spaces. There are bars and cafes where you communicate by writing notes. There are book cafes built for being alone together. Japan recently reached a strange milestone. There are now more pets than children. Cats, dogs, and even insects occupy more emotional space as the population shrinks. Japan isn't just about tradition and politeness, it's also about a wealthy, advanced, hyper-organized society navigating loneliness and purpose. And yet small human moments show up everywhere. A lost wallet returned with cash, a stranger guiding you on a platform, a salaryman sleeping upright on a train, a baby crying in a sumo ring as a blessing. Japan is full of contradictions. Robot hotels and ancient shrines, silent trains and chaotic festivals. A culture that rarely says what it feels, but expresses emotion through gestures and tiny acts of consideration. If you come from the US, you might leave with a quieter voice, a slower walk, or a habit of noticing the space you take up. Japan doesn't lecture. It lets you watch. And if you're paying attention, it changes how you move through the world. If this journey into Japan's hidden side sparked your curiosity, subscribe for more stories from around the world. Subscribe for more travel stories.